I'm Cam Ward, I'm 24 years old and I'm a professional scooter rider. I remember when we started riding scooters, I just really liked it and I started picking up on it, but I didn't really stick with it. I just kind of rode everybody else's scooter and I didn't really have one. For one of my birthdays, actually, a family friend gave me a brand new A model Razor, and it had like the green grips and everything. So after that, I was kind of hooked on it because I now had my own scooter. I ended up riding so much that we had built a half pipe in my backyard for skateboarding, and I wasn't even skateboarding anymore. I was just riding the scooter. And actually, funny enough, my dad told me, hey, there's scooter competitions out there. And I was like, no way. And he's like, yeah, there's people that ride scooters and they compete. There's one in San Diego coming up in January. I was like, no way, that's so cool. We should go and check it out. And he's like, it's worth checking out because you've been riding so much. You seem like you're in love with the thing. So we went to that, and that was the first time I'd ever seen like other people taking scootering seriously and modifying, like they would modify the scooters to make them stronger, and they would, have all these different tricks that I had never even seen. I was just like dumbfounded when I showed up there, and there were so many riders. And that was the first time that I met a lot of the people I still know today. And I ended up competing in that competition, and I entered it in beginner and then ended up winning it. And from that point I was like hooked. I was like, okay, I love competitions, this is my thing. So that first day, that competition that I went to was in San Diego. It was called SD2. And I met all the Razor guys that first day. I remember them all pulling up in the Razor van, and I thought that was so cool because before the competition, the only scootering that I had seen online was a rider from Australia named Cody Donovan who rode for Razor, and the RVM videos that came with the scooters when we bought them. So I got to watch the Razor video magazines, and that's all I really got to know was the Razor video magazines that came with the scooter. And then I met all the guys that were in the videos. It was like, what, this is insane. Like I get to see all these guys and they all rolled out of the van, and I was like, what, that's Josh Toy, oh my gosh, all these people, Ricky Wernicke, John Radke. And from that point, I was hooked. After that first SD2 competition, I continued competing, and I got closer with the people at Razor, and then I found out there was competitions out of state, and I went to one up in Washington, and I got second there, and I felt good about that. And then I found out as you moved up in the intermediate class and in the pro class, there was all competitions all over the place. They were in, Montreux, Switzerland, all these crazy places, and I was like, I gotta go. I've seen so many videos of people riding in Switzerland now that I really want to go. And I saw Razor videos of them in Switzerland, so I was like, man, I really got to go and check that out. So I moved up to intermediate, and then in 2011, I got to go on my first international trip with Razor, and that was to Montreux, Switzerland. And it was just because I had a sponsor that was willing to send me, but I didn't have anybody to go with. And I dragged my dad along with me. Razor was always that, the one that was there, like the, holding everything together. And they sponsored this thing called the Razor Raise the Gnar Tour. And it had 4 or 5 stops, I want to say. And they were all within the US. And then they held one in Europe as well, and one in Australia called the Razor Exposed Tour, which was just the coolest thing ever to get to compete. And it was for a prize. You got to win like a gold scooter from Razor if you won like all the stops in a row, and you placed higher than everybody and your points were higher. And it was just the first time we had proper judging, proper trophies. Everybody knew, okay, this is the paycheck we're gonna get if we place. And then it really set a lot of stuff in motion for the next 5 to 10 years of scootering. And after, moving up through intermediate ranks, I started traveling with Razor almost exclusively when I was going overseas because I was younger and I couldn't always have my dad come with because he had to work and do other things. So Razor really took me under their wing, and even though I was on a different team than them at the time, they still, welcomed me with open arms and let me travel and be that little kid, just that irritating kid with them on tour that was like, who is this guy, So I got to grow up riding with all my favorite pros and learn the way that they rode and watch their style and the way that they like attacked a park and would show up to a signing or something like that, and just the way that they like interacted with people. I got to grow and do that from an early age, and I just kept expanding that relationship with Razor. Later on, one of the guys from Razor, John Radke, founded Phase 2, which is a company that started with dirt scooters, and he invented the dirt scooter basically, machining them, like fabricating from scratch in his garage. And then he started, getting R&D at Razor and everything to take a look at it. And then within a couple years, it was a complete product you could buy out of the box from Razor that was just like game changing, because I came from riding BMX and moto. So riding dirt scooters is so much fun because it's right up my alley. So then we had a Triple Crown event with Razor, which was street, park, and dirt. And that's when I did a step-up competition with Razor at the Triple Crown, and I ended up winning it. And they were like, dude, you gotta ride for Phase 2. And I'm like, okay, technically I can ride for Phase 2 because it's a dirt scooter company, and I can still keep my main scooter sponsor district. So I ended up working out, and I got to travel a lot with them even more. I remember going to Germany for this trade show called ISPO multiple years in a row, just on Razor's dime, because they wanted to showcase scootering and get people to know, like, this is a serious sport. Like, people need to take us serious because it's coming. Like, it was blowing up at the time. It was everything was new. So it was so cool to be able to grow up with these people and have good guidance, as a young kid, and not just be out there in the unknown. I probably wouldn't have got to do half the things I would have done if it weren't for Razor. I was able to meet a guy that I was riding with his son up at Woodward, which is one of the action sports camps. And I was up there, and the guy was listening to like the Tokyo Drift soundtrack in his car, and he was in his 40s. So I was like, what is this guy listening to this music for? And I talked to him about it, and he said, oh, I work in the motion picture industry. And I was like, what? Because I was enamored. I've been in love with cars and movies my whole life. And he said, yeah, I work with cars directly in movies, and if you're interested in it, you should stop by my work someday and I'll show you around. And I took him up on that offer like immediately, and I just started working with him, and it snowballed into me working in the motion picture industry now as a Teamster and getting to do transportation department on big productions and stuff, and have a career separate from scootering while still being able to be active in scootering and still being able to ride and travel and do events and stuff like that. So it's really awesome to see how far scootering has come within even the past 5 years. But over the course of the 2000s to now, it's insane to see how big scootering has gotten and how many ways it's worked in different people's lives, and how a lot of people can use it as a stepping stone to build off of and build a career off of in other facets of life. So when I tell people I ride scooters professionally, they think like, oh, like mopeds or like sit down. I'm like, no. And they go, oh, like Razor? I go, exactly a Razor, like exactly like that. And then they understand. And that's so crazy to think that scootering and Razor are synonymous with each other. Like, you can't have one without the other, Within the past couple years alone, scootering has done so much as far as moving forward and progressing from how small it was. And that's a lot of thanks to the internet and thanks to these big riders like Ryan Williams that are really, really talented multi-sport athletes that can ride both a bike and a scooter and do the same tricks on both. So, him getting into nitro circuits was really big for us, and the first scooter rider to get like $1 million contract. It was on ESPN, SportsCenter. I mean, everybody was talking about it, and it really did a lot for scootering. And now, when you go watch a nitro show, you see all these crazy scooter tricks, and these kids get amped and they want to ride scooters. And the same thing goes for Tanner Fox and the Funk Bros and a couple other of these YouTubers. YouTube became a thing, and they're like, look, we already do all this crazy stuff all the time, and we're riding our scooters and having fun. And they just started documenting it, and it started doing really, really well. And now they have careers from scootering, as influencers and as athletes for, big companies now. And without the internet and without how things have worked forward, I don't know if that would have happened, but it's awesome to see it, because what happened with biking and skateboarding took 20 plus years to get to where they are, and now we're almost in the mainstream. Like, we're knocking on the door, we're right there, and it was the biggest sport on social media, and it continues to grow. So should I open this bad boy? Yeah. This is $129, okay. Well, the top of the line back in the day, I want to say was $59, and it was from Walmart or Target. And if you found somebody with a square deck, it was somebody that had it. I remember finding them at garage sales. I would buy Razors at garage sales because the square deck was stronger and I liked it better, so I wanted it. And it was hard to find, but you could find some. And if you didn't want one, you go to the local Target or Scooter Zone or wherever and go buy one for 50 or 60 bucks, and then take it to the hardware store, modify it, and then bring it home, put a deck saver on it, and then go and ride it. So it was a process, and now it's literally pull it out of the box, $129, and you're done. And you could ride this for a long time before, and especially if you're getting into scootering, like you're just starting to ride the street spots or the skate park or whatever, this is probably perfect for you because it's got everything you need. I'm down to take it to the skate park and try it. It's definitely not gonna be any harder than it was on a Ultra Pro or a Pro model, right? Or an A model for that matter. So yeah, let's do it. Let's take it to the skate park. I'm down to ride it.